Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach, psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Have you ever known a relationship was not giving you peace, but still felt almost impossible to release? Maybe it felt destined, spiritually charged, unfinished, or strangely familiar. Maybe the person was not always available, not always clear, not always healthy for your heart. But something in you still wondered, why does this connection feels so powerful? Maybe you had told yourself, there must be a reason. I feel this strongly. Or, why can't I just move on? Or, was this love? Or was it a lesson? Or was this some kind of soul contract? You may have told yourself, there has to be a reason I feel so strongly. Or, why can't I just move on? Or you may have thought, was this love? Was this a lesson? Or some kind of spiritual contract? And this is where many women get caught. Because when a relationship feels powerful, we can believe it must be sacred. When it feels hard to release, we may assume it must be unfinished. And when it keeps pulling us back emotionally, we may feel it's destiny. But here is the deeper truth. A spiritually significant relationship is not measured by intensity. It is measured by what it awakens, purifies, and advances in the soul, the substance of your life. Some relationships come to open the heart. Some to expose. Some come to reveal an old wound. And some come to teach discernment. And some come to help the soul complete a lesson it has been carrying for a long, long time. Not every powerful connection is meant to become a permanent relationship. Near the end of this episode, I want to give you one question that may tell you more than the label karmic, twin flame, soulmate, or soul contract ever could. I'm back with another key to soul progress. And today, we're talking about intensity is not always confirmation, and sometimes intensity is revelation. A relationship can feel spiritually charged and still not be spiritually healthy. It can awaken something real in you and still not be something God is asking you to keep. It can feel meaningful and still not be mutual. It can feel familiar and still not be wise. This is why discernment matters. We are talking about karmic relationships, twin flame relationships, soul contracts, and the spiritual difference between love that awakens you and attachment that keeps binding you. This matters because many thoughtful, spiritually open women can feel something real in a relationship and still not know what to do with it. They know the connection mattered. They know something in them changed. They know even the sense that God used the relationship to reveal something important. But then comes the hard question. If this relationship awakens something in me, does releasing it mean I failed the soul lesson? This is the question we are sitting with today. Because spiritual language can either free us or confuse us. Words like karmic relationship, twin flame, soul contract should not become permission to tolerate confusion, obsession, unavailability, unavailable love, emotional suffering, or the loss of inner peace. The purpose of soul teaching is not to keep us trapped. The purpose of soul teaching is to help us awaken, purify love more wisely, and move closer to God. Let's begin with the part most people recognize. Some relationships feel different from the beginning. You may not even know the person well, yet something in you responds. This is familiarity. There is electricity. There is recognition. There is a feeling that your soul knows something your mind has not caught up with yet. And sometimes there really is something meaningful there. There are relationships that enter your lives with spiritual weight. They stir something. They reveal something. They awaken something that has been sleeping. But we have to be careful. The nervous system can create a feeling of urgency. Old attachment wounds can create a feeling of, I must not lose this. Unresolved grief can make someone feel like the answer to a pain they did not create. Loneliness can dress itself up as destiny. Emotional hunger can feel like spiritual recognition. That does not mean the connection is fake. It means the connection needs discernment. A relationship can be meaningful and still not be meant for your future. A relationship can awaken you and still not be safe for your heart. And a relationship can bring you soul lessons and still not be a relationship God is asking you to preserve. This is where many people get confused. They assume that if a relationship changes them, it must be their path. Sometimes it changes them because it reveals what they must never repeat again. A storm can change the landscape. That does not mean you build a house inside the storm. Some relationships are like storms. They shake what was sleeping. They expose what was weak. They reveal what was unhealed. They show you where the roof was leaking long before the rain came. Once the storm has shown you the truth, you do not have to keep standing in it to prove that it mattered. Let me talk about Monica. Monica was 38 years old. She was steady in many areas of her life. She was respected at work, loyal to her friends, and deeply committed to her spiritual growth. She prayed, she reflected, she had done enough life work to know when something was not giving her peace. But there was one relationship that kept pulling her out of alignment. Every time she thought she was done, something would happen. A message, a memory, a dream, a familiar ache in her heart. And she would find herself wondering, why does this still have power over me? And Jim was not consistently available. He could be warm, then distant, tender, and then evasive, present, then emotionally gone. And each time he pulled away, Monica felt an old panic arise in herself. She did not like who she became in that relationship. She checked her phone too often. She replayed conversations. She wondered what had gone wrong. She prayed for clarity, but then ignored the clarity when it asked her to step back. And because the relationship felt so intense, Monica began to wonder if it was a soul contract. Maybe they had known each other before. Maybe they had meant to finish something. Maybe the pain meant there was a deeper reason. And perhaps there was a deeper reason. But the deeper reason was not necessarily that she was supposed to stay. The deeper reason was that her relationship was showing Monica a pattern that had been living in her for a long time. She had learned early in life to work hard for love. She had learned to be patient with emotional absence. She had learned to make excuses for people who gave her just enough hope to keep her waiting. She had learned to call endurance love. So when Jim came into her life, the pull was not only about him, it was about old pattern rising to be seen. This is one way to understand a karmic relationship. It is not always punishment. It may be a relationship that brings unfinished lessons to the surface so the soul can finally see them, learn from them, and become free. A karmic relationship often has repetition in it. The same conflict returns, the same wound opens, the same lesson appears in different clothing. The soul keeps saying, look here. This is where you keep giving your power away. This is where you keep confusing longing with love. This is where you keep trying to be chosen instead of standing in your own inner authority. And for Monica, the soul lesson was not, how do I make him love me correctly? The lesson was, why did I make his inconsistency the measure of my worth? That question changed everything. Karmic relationships are often misunderstood. People hear the word karma and think punishment. But spiritually, karma is more about cause and effect, learning and balancing, unfinished lessons returning to consciousness. Arrive. A karmic relationship may arrive with strong attraction because something in the soul recognizes unfinished business. But unfinished business does not always mean this person is mine forever. Sometimes it means this pattern is ready to be completed. The distinction matters. A karmic relationship may expose fear of abandonment. It may expose control. It may expose the desire to rescue. It may expose pride. It may expose emotional dependency. And it may expose the habit of betraying your own knowing because you are afraid of loss. The person becomes a mirror, but the mirror is not the master. The lesson is the master. And when the lesson has been seen, the soul is invited to respond differently. This is why the question is not simply, is this karmic? The better question is, what is this relationship asking me to master? Is it asking me to master patience, or is it revealing where I have tolerated too much uncertainty? Is it asking me to forgive, or is it showing me what I confuse forgiveness with continued access? Is it asking me to love more deeply, or is it showing me that I have been using love to avoid truth? Is it asking me to stay open-hearted, or is it asking me to stop abandoning my own inner peace? This is where soul progress begins, not with a label, but with honest seeing. And honest seeing is not always easy. Sometimes the soul has to admit, I wanted this relationship to be my destiny, because I did not want to face the grief of its limitation. That is tender truth. But tenderness does not make it less true. Now let's talk about twin flames. This is where you need to move carefully. A sacred wisdom teachings says twin flames love is not simply intense attraction. It is not just the person who triggers you the most. It is not the person who you cannot stop thinking about. It is not the person who keeps leaving and returning, or automatically the person who gives you butterflies or dreams or longing or synchronicities. The deeper spiritual idea of twin flames points to divine counterpart, a deeper spiritual purpose, a higher path in God. But this teaching has often been reduced to romantic fantasy. And when that happens, people start using the idea of twin flame to justify suffering. They say, this pain must mean we are meant to be. Or they say, the runner and the chaser dynamic is part of the journey. Or, no one else understands this bond. Or they may say, I know this is hurting me, but maybe this is my spiritual test. But we have to bring wisdom back into the conversation. A spiritual test does not require you to lose your dignity. A sacred connection does not require you to abandon your discernment. A divine relationship does not ask you to confuse chaos with love. If someone is unavailable, inconsistent, manipulative, dishonest, cruel, or emotionally harmful, calling the connection spiritually does not make it holy. Someone awakening something in you does not mean they are meant to have ongoing access to you. Sometimes a person awakens your heart, but they cannot meet your heart with maturity. Sometimes a person awakens your longing for God, but they cannot walk with you in truth. Sometimes a person reflects your light, but also activates your wound. This does not mean that connection was meaningless. It means the meaning may be different from what you first thought. The twin flame question should never be used to bypass common sense, emotional health, or spiritual discernment. Instead of asking only, is this my twin flame? Ask, does this relationship draw me closer to God, truth, peace, humility, love, and right action? That question will protect you. Because God may use a relationship to awaken the heart, but God does not ask the heart to stay where truth, peace, dignity are continually being compromised. Now let's talk about Evelyn. Evelyn is about 48. She had been through enough of life to know the difference between a crush and a meaningful connection. She was not naive. She had loved, lost, grown, prayed, and rebuilt parts of herself more than once. But once she met a certain person during a season of transition, something in her opened. It was not simply romance. It was as if a part of her had gone quiet and began to breathe again. She started praying differently. She started writing again. She felt more alive, more honest, more aware of her parts of herself she had put away. But the relationship itself was complicated. The other person was not able to offer consistency. There was limitations. The timing was not clean, and the past was not peaceful. For a while, Evelyn tried to interpret the intensity as a sign that she was supposed to keep holding on. She thought, why would God allow this connection to awaken so much in me if it was not meant to become something? That is a question many women ask. Why would this person come into my life if I was not supposed to love them? Why would I feel so much if I was not supposed to stay? Why would my heart open if the relationship could not become what I hoped? But gradually, Evelyn began to understand something deeper. The person had awakened her, but the awakening belonged to her soul. That was the turning point. She realized that creativity comes back was hers. The prayer life deepening was hers. The courage rising was hers. The longing for truth was hers. The renewed desire to live from the heart was hers. The other person may have been the mirror, but he was not the source. This is a powerful distinction. When we confuse the mirror with the source, we become attached to the person who reflected something back to us. We start believing we can only feel alive if this person stays. We start believing we can only access this part of myself through them. We start believing if I release the relationship, I will lose what awakened in me. But spiritually, this is not true. What is awakened in the soul can be carried forward with God. Evelyn did not have to deny that the connection mattered. She did not have to shame herself for feeling deeply. She did not have to pretend it was ordinary. But she did have to stop making the relationship responsible for her awakening. She began to pray. As she began to pray, she would say, God, help me to receive the lesson without clinging to the vessel. Help me to honor that awakened within me without worshiping the person. Help me to keep the growth without staying bound to confusion. That prayer helped her release the reverence instead of bitterness. This is one of the most important distinctions in this episode. Attachment says, I cannot be okay unless this person chooses me. Awakening says, this connection shows me something I need to bring into consciousness. Attachment says, the pain proves this is special. Awakening says, the pain is showing me where healing is needed. Attachment may say, I need a label so I can keep holding on. Awakening says, I need truth so I can become free. Attachment contracts the soul. Awakening expands it. Attachment creates anxiety, obsession, bargaining, waiting, emotional overthinking. Whereas awakening creates honesty, humility, courage, prayer, and movement towards wholeness. This does not mean awakening is painless. Sometimes truth hurts. Sometimes release hurts. Sometimes seeing our pattern clearly hurts. There is a different quality to the pain. The pain of attachment keeps pulling you away from yourself. The pain of awakening returns you to yourself and to God, the I Am Presence, the Atman, the Christic nature within you. This is why we cannot measure a relationship by how much emotion it creates. Measure it by what it produces over time. Does it produce clarity or confusion? Does it produce maturity or emotional regression? Peace or constant agitation? Does it deepen your relationship with God, or does it replace God with the person? Does it help you become more loving and truthful, or does it make you smaller, more anxious, more dependent, less able to hear your own inner guidance? This is about reading the fruit of the relationship. A tree is known by its fruit. And a spiritually significant relationship should bear fruit in the soul, even if the relationship itself does not continue. So let me give you a simple framework for reflection. The word is flame. Because these relationships often feel like fire, they can warm the heart and burn through illusion. But fire must be handled with wisdom. So the F in flame is for familiarity and not proof of destiny. Just because someone feels familiar does not mean they are your future. Familiarity can come from spiritual recognition, but it can also come from an old wound. It can come from a pattern. Your nervous system knows if chaos feels familiar, peace may feel boring at first. If emotional distance feels familiar, consistency may feel strange. If earning love feels familiar, mutual love may feel unfamiliar. Ask yourself, does this person feel familiar because my soul recognizes something scared, or because my wound recognizes something repeated? That question alone can save years of confusion. The L is for lessons. Matter more than labels. Many people get stuck trying to label the relationship. Is this karmic? Is this twin flame? Is this a soulmate? Is this a soul contract? But labels can become another way to avoid truth. The better question is, what lesson is being revealed? Is a lesson about boundaries? Is it about forgiveness? Is it about humility? Is it about patience? Is it about self-worth? Is it about letting go of control? Is it about no longer mistaking intensity for love? When we know the lesson, you do not have to obsess over the label. The A is for awakening. It's not the same as attachment. A relationship can awaken you, but that does not mean you are meant to cling to it. A person can activate something sacred in you, but that does not mean they are the keeper of your destiny. If a relationship awakens prayer, keep praying. If it awakens creativity, keep creating. If it awakened honesty, keep telling the truth. If it awakened courage, keep walking courageously. Do not hand the awakened part of yourself back to the person who helped you see it. That part belongs to your soul, the substance of your life. The M is for maturity, is the measure of spiritual love. This is where you must be honest. Spiritual love is not just chemistry, synchronicity, longing, intensity, or emotional intensity. Spiritual love matures the soul. It teaches responsibility. It teaches right speech and right action. It teaches reverence. It teaches patience without passivity. It teaches forgiveness without denial. It teaches truth without cruelty. It teaches love without possession. If the relationship keeps pulling you into anxiety, secrecy, emotional compromise, or loss of inner authority, or loss of your self-worth, then something is asking to be re-examined. Maturity does not mean the relationship has no challenges. Every meaningful relationship has challenges, but spiritual love should not require the death of your patience. The E is for evolve, engage, or exist with peace. Once you see the lesson, you have to choose your next right action. Sometimes the right action is to evolve within the relationship. That means both people are willing to grow, to tell the truth, to take responsibility, to bring more love into form. Sometimes the right action is to engage differently. That may mean boundaries, slower pacing, less giving too much of your heart too soon, more prayer, more truth, less fantasy. And sometimes the right action is exit with peace. Exit with peace does not mean the relationship meant nothing. It means that the lesson has been received. It means you do not have to keep repeating the same suffering by proving the connection was real. The soul can bow to what was meaningful and still move forward. That is soul maturity. Reflect gently and honestly. Think of a relationship that felt spiritually charged, difficult to release, or unusually meaningful. Do not start by asking, what should I call this? Start by asking, what did this relationship awaken in me? Did it awaken love, longing, fear, grief, creativity, or insecurity, or prayer? Did it awaken a pattern I have repeated before? Then ask, what did this relationship reveal about my soul's current lesson? Maybe it revealed that you are ready to stop chasing unavailable love. Maybe it revealed that you are ready to trust your inner knowing sooner. Maybe it revealed that you are ready to stop confusing being needed with being loved. Maybe it revealed that you are ready to receive a love that is peaceful, mutual, and honest. Then ask, what part of me grew through this connection? This question matters because it helps you reclaim your growth. The growth does not belong to the other person. The awakening does not belong to the relationship. The clarity does not belong to the past. It belongs to your soul. And then ask, what would love, wisdom, and inner authority ask me to do now? Not fear, not fantasy, not panic, not longing, not the part of you that wants to rewrite the story, but love, wisdom, and inner authority. Those three together will give you a cleaner answer. Here is the deeper spiritual teaching. Some relationships are not sent to become your forever. They are sent to reveal where your soul is still bound, where your heart is still hungry, where your discernment is still developing, and where God is inviting you to a freer love. This does not make the relationship meaningless. It makes it sacred in a different way. A person can be part of your awakening without being part of your future. A person can help reveal your heart without being able to hold your heart. A person can mirror your soul without being your soul assignment. A person can come through your life like fire. The purpose may be to let the fire purify what was false, illuminate what was hidden, and strengthen what is true. And when that work has been done, release is not failure. Release may be the completion of the lesson. So this week, take one relationship that still feels unfinished and ask, what did it awaken? What did it teach? What did it ask me to master? Is holding on still helping my soul progress, or is it keeping me bound to a lesson I have already received? This is a question that may tell you more than the label karmic, twin flame, soulmate, or soul contract could ever. Because a spiritually significant relationship is not measured by intensity. It is measured by what it advances in the soul. That is something to think about. Bye for now. You can find my podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and at drjudithmla.com.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.